So we're gonna move on to the gacha games topic, and we're gonna kind of breeze through that.
Start wrapping it up, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll start wrapping it up. So Wuthering Waves, ZZZ, Xenozone Zero. One is non-Honkai or non-Hoyoverse, another one is Hoyo Labs game. Will you try them out or not?
I will not be trying those out, because at some point when I started playing Genshin, and especially when I started playing Honkai Star Rail, and I was really enjoying it in that prime period, because I looked at my stats on the app, and I was playing it for about 2 months every day. And yeah, I would say within the first month period, I was like, oh, I'll sign up to the pre-registration. Oh, what's this Wuthering Waves thing? I'll check that out. Oh, well, that's a cool... That combat looks pretty fun. Maybe even better than Genshin Impact, or Genshin... Yeah,
Genshin, yeah.
And then after I decided to finish my time with Honkai Star Rail, I thought about it and I said, you know what, I don't think gacha games are for me. And even if the combat is fun, the exploration is fun, whatever, the mechanics, I just don't want to deal with the end game grind that you will eventually hit. I don't want to deal with the gacha mechanics where you're forced to make decisions based on the characters that you want to go for and the resources you have. And yeah, while those two games, like Xenozone Zero looks amazing in terms of the visuals, like the animation quality, I think it's actually potentially a step up from Genshin and Honkai Star Rail.
Yep.
But at the same time, I just don't want to get involved. Due to the above reasons. And same for Wuthering Waves. It's the exact same.
It's reason. Exactly the same.
Looks cool, but no, thanks.
Thanks, but no thanks. No, absolutely, and my thoughts are absolutely the same. And I think this ties into the kind of the gacha business model and how they are getting the people to spend money on the game. There are two parts, of course. The making the characters as desirable as possible. Well, sex sells, right? So because sex sells, if you say, hey, no, sex doesn't sell, well, first of all, porn. But besides that, let's talk about actual games. How about look at Nikkei, right? Look at Nikkei. I can't remember the full name. Let me just look it up. It's Nikkei Gacha. Nikkei Nikke, Goddess of Victory Nikkei. If you look at some of the videos for it, because those are kind of clips from the game, they are absolutely and totally sexualized. To the point of spreading legs and saying things that, should they be in the game aimed for young adults and definitely teenagers? Because we will come to that. I'm sure Stibble has his things ready to impart onto us the percentages of people who play. I think this is for Hoyo games specifically, but gacha games in general would be very similar in terms of demographics. But yeah, so they're designed to kind of sell you this sexy character, and then they are designed to suck you in with either a story or a gameplay and make you spend your whole time thinking and playing this one game and continue dropping a little bit of money all the time with, from time to time, big splurges because you really want to get that character and you're simply not able to do that free to play. Which kind of brings me to my next point. And the biggest offense to me in Honkai Star Rail, in Penacony, well, Penacony in general, because it's Las Vegas, it's gambling, it's the in-jokes about the gambling but it's also normalization of gambling by forcing you, the player, through the main quest to do literal gambling things and saying when you're vulnerable, gamble, and everything will be fine. When you're feeling down, just do a bit of gambling, and that is sure to perk you right up. That was really the low of my experience with Honkai in general, but I think apart from that, the gacha games do normalize gambling for the people because, hey, well, this is just part of the mechanics, right? This is just how you progress, so maybe if I spend a little bit, well, maybe a little bit more, and a little bit more, that is totally fine. And that is not fine, because the whole game can be much better if it doesn't have any gacha mechanics in it. So, I think with that said, how about we transfer over to Stipple, and he has a few interesting facts for us. And yeah, go take it away, Stipple, because there are facts on demographics and amounts people kind of invest in a game, etc. So go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple. So there's one I have from Frontiers in Psychiatry. So it's like an official peer-reviewed journal. So really credible data.
Yep.
And it was conducted in Hong Kong around the pandemic time. So the title on this study was Prediction of Problem Gambling by Demographics, Gaming Behavior, and Psychological Correlates among Gacha Gamers. Cross-sectional online survey in Chinese young adults. So it's strictly talking about 18 to 25-year-olds over a period of 12 months when they're playing gacha games.
So 18 to 25-year-olds over a period of 12 months, with specifically as to the gacha game playing.
Yeah, they're all playing gacha games, whether it was 1 or 3 or 5, because I know a lot of gacha games do play multiple gacha games at one time, which is very common. So the results were, out of the 337 questionnaires completed, 34.7% of the participants had a non or low risk of problem gambling. 40% of them had moderate risk of gambling, and the remaining 25% were at a high risk of problem gambling. So this really means that if you add the 40 and the 34, the 40 and the 25, that's 65% would have a propensity to gamble or be at a moderate to high risk of gambling.
Yes. And this is between 18 and 25-year-olds, did you say?
18 to 25.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is when person is still being formed. Literally, in some states in US, you're not even allowed to gamble when you're 18. Which I think is the right decision there, but that's we will not go into that because that can spark a politics debate. But the point is that this is still when people are being formed. They're at the end of their formative years, but they're still in their formative years, and this is when the gacha games normalize gambling, which is of course through gacha mechanics. Nothing sinister there, but...
Various. But yeah, the conclusion was that the established model suggests that gacha gamers with higher risk of problem gambling tend to have greater stress, higher anxiety levels, and spend more on gacha purchases, and have more motives for gacha purchases and engage in more gambling activities. So this goes to even outside of gacha. So if the gacha game gets them to spend money, then that means that there's a likelihood of them gambling in other forms as well.
Exactly.
And it can increase, anxiety levels and stress levels and things, all very bad and negative things. So that was one study, and then a survey was conducted on Reddit by a student, but it's quite an in-depth survey, and it was posted to Gacha Gaming subreddit and also Fire Emblem Heroes, which is a gacha game, a very big one.
Yep.
There was 554 participants, and the results were that 84.1% of the participants were male.
Which is telling in itself, and again, we're kind of circling back to sex sells, because, hey, let's face it, the percentage of female waifu in are there male waifu? There probably are. But
husbando,
yeah. The percentage of the characters that are female in gacha games is definitely disproportional to male characters there, which again, it's a clear targeted demographic that they're appealing to.
So then, in terms of the demographics,
Innisfree is asking, do you know what the percentage were for the control group, if there was any? And thank you so much for this question, Innisfree, and of course for being a first-time chatter.
Oh yeah. The study is available on Frontiers in Psychiatry. So if you want more information, I would go there because I don't have that information at the top of my mind. But yeah, it is available freely. It's actually the study that comes up the most when you Google gacha gaming and addictions. So if you're interested, I would have a look at that yourself.
So what was the name of the website again, or the study?
The website is Frontiers in Psychiatry, and the article is Prediction of Problem Gambling by Demographics. So if you put that into Google, you'll find it.
Yep.
And then in terms of the Reddit survey that I was talking about, the common age range was 21 to 30 at 58.7% of the population.
So that's their basically target audience.
Yeah, it is. And then 16 to 20-year-olds were 27.4%. So between 16 and 30, you're talking, what's that? About 80. Yeah, over 80%.
Over 80%. So, and it is telling that there are 16-year-olds, and of course, while they might not be the big percentage, and definitely not the spendy percentage, they are the people who are the most vulnerable. And this is literally 25% of all the players, given that the survey has a limited scope, but it can still be an indicative of the percentage of players engaging with gacha games. So that's 25% of the players who are underage, who have, through gamification, having the gambling normalized through their day-to-day engagement with gaming media, right? So,
yes.
Which is really quite worrying if you think about it, especially because, as studies has shown, that people who play gacha games play more than one gacha game usually.
Yes.
So, and of course, very high percentage of people that are vulnerable at a later stage or during their stint with gacha games to gambling in general. Right. Okay. Do go on. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, another thing I wanted to point out was the total spending. They actually did the survey included questions about how much money they spent, and this was really interesting. So out of the 554 responses, 26.9% of people spent more than $600 on gacha games,
and that is huge. So, of course, I spent more than that on all the games that I've played over the years, but the biggest amount of money I probably spent on one game, on one computer game, would probably be about $100, roughly. And that is just not even one game, but it's a game and all of its expansions, and I have over 1,000 hours in that game, and it has nothing to do with gacha. The game is Arma 3, by the way, and it's not even a live service game, right? And I have, as I said, over 1,000 hours in it, and I have been playing it for years and years. So, very good.
And this is the highest percentage, by the way. 26.9% is the highest out of all of them.
Yeah.
There's a range of more than 600, then there's 401 to 600, 201 to 400, 101 to 200, 51 to 100, 20 to 50, less than 20, and none. So in terms of the free-to-play
biggest
players,
amount spent? What was that, and what's the percentage?
That's the first one I said. 26.9% spent more than $600. That's the highest.
Oh, that's the highest. Wow. So if you spend, you're spending.
Yeah,
basically.
you're in.
So,
And
wow.
then in terms of the free to play, there's only 13.4% of that player base. So if you're into gacha gaming, because clearly the people they surveyed are on these subreddits, they're actively engaged in the communities, they're playing the games daily, multiple games probably. Yeah, only 13.4% of those
Are free to play.
Are free to play completely. Yeah,
And again,
some of them.
One thing that you do have to point out as well is that the amount of people surveyed is, of course, quite limited. But again, that could still be an indication of the general trend.
Yeah, no, generally you don't need, when it comes to statistics, you don't need thousands of people to respond to a survey to get a general consensus or for it to be statistically significant.
Yeah.
500 people is more than enough to get a true sense of, within those communities. Again, we have to remember this is on two subreddits within those communities and people that are actively engaged.
Yes.
So, that is important data, but when you're talking in the grand scope, out of like the millions of players that play, say like a Genshin Impact or a Honkai Star, yeah, of course, more than 13.4% of those are free to play. But this is a specific subset of people that are, gacha. You could call them gacha addicts. You can call them whatever you want.
Let's call it the way it is.
Right? Yeah, call a spade a spade. But yeah, so this is talking about people that are very much engaged and they've been playing these games for years. So yeah. But yeah, anyway, those are some interesting.
Those are definitely interesting statistics. And I gotta say, so I kind of want to talk a little bit, just touch on my own experience with the addiction to specifically Honkai Star Rail in this instance. But we can generalize as a gacha game. If the gacha game is good, if the gameplay part is good, there is a higher chance of getting the game. So I have been streaming, as you know, quite a bit of Genshin and Honkai. And for the past probably months leading up to this, and to my decision to uninstall it from my computer, which I have done yesterday, by the way, in preparation for the stream. But leading up to this, I have been spending more and more time trying to catch up, doing dailies, doing weeklies, doing simulated universe, doing the Forgotten Hall, trying to do all other things, special events, etc., to try and get as much resources that I can possibly squeeze out of the game, to the detriment of my work on the YouTube channel, and to a certain extent to the detriment of my actual streaming journey here as well. I am still working on the Sea of Stars review, and I have been working on that for quite some time. If you have watched my Sea of Stars streams, you might be like, where is that? When are you actually releasing that? Well, I am working on it, okay? I have started working on it again. But for the longest time, for about 3 weeks, I was just playing Honkai instead of doing that. And it got to the point where I was feeling absolutely devastated towards the end of the day. I was exhausted, but I was also mentally in such a bad place where I know I should be doing other things, but yet, despite that, despite feeling like crap at the end of the day every day, I would still finish the stream and get onto the Honkai, and because I felt like I was missing out if I don't engage with this. And if I just do this today, I don't need to do this tomorrow, but of course tomorrow comes and you need to do that tomorrow. And that was just absolutely awful. And really made me kind of spiral burnout and spiral kind of into depression, really. Haven't quite gotten there, but I was very, very close to absolutely burning out. And that is not a good feeling. If you have ever been depressed, I think you know what I'm talking about, and that you do not want to get to that stage where it's like, that's it. And I was going very, very close to that because of being addicted to Honkai. to gacha games. So yeah, that's my story right there. So yes, we are, unless you have anything to add, Stipple, we are moving on to the final part of our conversation today.
Yeah, I think we could probably get into kind of conclusions and our general kind of our last final thoughts, I suppose, on everything.
So, right. So this is kind of, the last topic was to do with the live service games, but I think we have dwelled quite a bit on the gacha games, and maybe we will not go into that today. But, in conclusion, while I'm quite happy that I have experienced both Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, and experienced what gacha games are, and that they are more than I ever thought they could possibly be, that they can have good story, they can have good gameplay, but unfortunately that is just not enough for me, in my opinion, to subject yourself to the gacha. Right? So, and there are a lot of good things to say about both games, but just through my own experience, I have uninstalled both of them, and I will never be picking them up again. And there are much better games with much better stories that are out there you can experience, not be addicted, and not have to constantly think about the game and feel like you need to engage with the game and wanting to spend more and more money on the game because, hey, you just want that last character, just because they either are really good, better than anybody else, or they just look super cool, or they just look super sexy because, hey, you gotta catch all the waifus in the game, right? That's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on that, and I think that pretty much sums up most of our stream today. What about you, Stipple?
Yeah,
any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. I don't regret my experience and my choice to try Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. I did enjoy elements of my experience, for sure. Especially the gameplay. In Honkai Star Rail, I did really enjoy some of the story as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll kind of, along the same way as you. I don't plan on returning. And like we talked about, other potential gacha games that look cool. Like obviously there's space for more than just Hoyoverse games. And a lot of companies are looking at the example kind of set by Hoyo and like, oh, well, you can make this, billions of dollars every year with this concept and this type of game experience. And there's others that are trying to get in on that action. And
many others.
Yeah, exactly. There's countless, I'm sure. But, at the end of the day, I don't see them appealing to me in the future. And I kind of know that now, that because of my experience and actually getting to get my hands on and playing two of the biggest games, I would say, in the space. So I think that kind of sums it up for me, really. I think it's just say no, kids.
Just say no, kids. Yeah. If say no to drugs and no to gambling.
Yeah. If this was me 10 years ago, even, I think I might not have had the propensity to say no and to actually uninstall and to say, okay, I have an addiction and I don't want to do this anymore. Like if I was a bit younger, a bit less mature, I think I could have got caught up and I could be playing these games or this game for years, and I'll probably spend more money on it. That's and then it becomes the new normal. It's like, oh, I guess this is what I like. You know, it becomes kind of, well, it's almost part of your personality, because you're like, okay, I spend so much time on this game. Of course, I'm going to talk about it with my friends and other people online, and watch all the YouTube videos. And, But yeah, and I even, I started doing. I was watching so much YouTube content, even outside of playing the game. I was watching so much content.
Yeah, because you want to know how the characters work, how like the best to build up a party, and just like what other people think about new story mechanics.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm sure other people can relate. So if anyone's listening, and
I can.
If you do play those gacha games, like, yeah, don't treat it as the time you spend in the game. It's much more about the time that you spend thinking about the game, and the time you spend maybe consuming other content that's related to the game. And when you add all that up, it actually becomes a big chunk of your day. It's no longer 10 minutes of your day, it's probably hours. So maybe think about it that way. If you're in that situation where you're like, oh, maybe I learned something today, or got something based on what we talked about earlier. Sparked a thought.
Hey guys, like if you think that if you're playing the game and you're not happy, and you feel like you cannot stop, there are places like you can contact a professional and speak to your doctor. Say that you are addicted. They will point you in the right direction, whether you are in US, UK, Ireland, Australia, it doesn't matter where you are. They will point you in the right direction. There are systems in place to help you. And hey, sometimes if you don't feel comfortable, go in and speak into a professional. Speak to your loved one. Whether it is your parent, whether it is your sibling, whether it is your partner. Tell them what's going on. Let them in. Let them help. I think that's a perfect way to end.
So, that's it, yeah.
I'd like to
stay safe.
Yeah, please stay safe, guys. I'd like to thank you so much for watching today. Trevor McLaren, thank you so much. I do see your messages coming in. I do see your messages. 4 hours is a long time, but hey, if it's good for you, thank you. I appreciate that. And hey, we have used a lot of words, so definitely gonna be drunk on words after the end of this stream. In saying that, I do not know if you want to impart on our viewers, so where the viewers can find you in any way, shape or form, Steeple, but if you do want to plug yourself in any way, feel free to do so right now, and then I'll do my bit, and then we'll wrap up that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be around the Twitch stream, so if you see my name pop up in the chat, yeah, you know who it is now.
Say hi.
And you can put a name to the face.
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Absolutely. And,
but anyway.
And hey, today was very long, so we're both a little bit tired right now.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna reassess after the stream, not necessarily today. And there might be more of these coming, not talking about gacha games. I think we have said a lot about gacha games. There is more to say, of course, but maybe talking about other games that we have enjoyed and or played, and our thoughts on them, or just in the story. But again, no promises. We might or we might not do that. Well, but watch this one. Right, well, in that case, as for me, of course, you can find me here. I stream Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to usually 12 or 1 p.m. GMT UTC. And of course, you can go to my YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/GameChillMeow. And see my reviews, clips from the streams, there, all the VODs. Those. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Tremor, Josh, Yuri, everybody else who have watched throughout. And thank you if you're watching in the future on YouTube, because this will be coming up on YouTube as an edited video. So, thank you. Until next time, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah.